When playing Elden Ring, I've gotten used to banging my head against a wall until it topples over. There are many things you can learn from doing this, but purposely taking on the challenge of defeating an enemy when you are ill-equipped is a different teacher altogether.
There will be no foolish wand-waving or silly incantations in this class.
In my first playthrough of the game, I attempted the Tree Sentinel, gave up, and came back about 40 levels later to a much easier opponent. As I will explain in this video, I really deprived myself of the lessons that he teaches, which I would argue are vital to becoming a good Elden Ring player. I recently off-camera gave myself the challenge of taking on the Tree Sentinel at base level with traditional equipment given as the prisoner. The beginning was difficult for only a little while until I began to understand the simple moveset he starts with. For the most part, sticking very close to him and dodging toward his attack direction is enough to get him to half health. This, however, is when he becomes much more challenging. It took me maybe 5 attempts to get him to half health, and then I thought to myself, wow, this is easy enough. I can't believe I struggled with this in my first playthrough. Then he jumped in the air the first time, and it was an instant KO. Well, that was close. I can probably take him out in the next couple tries, right? Wrong. I get him down to half health, and now he shield bashes me. I get him to half health yet again, and wait for it, he does a different, much quicker jump and KOs me again. And again, and again, and again. See, the beauty of the Tree Sentinel is not the damage he does, but the well-created moves that he uses that makes him more difficult to learn. His different attacks have intricate ranges that make him very rewarding to overcome. Even just his swings and strikes, and jabs, all do different things. For some of his attacks, you can stand right next to him and be completely out of the range. Others, you're only safe standing on the opposite side of him. Oh, and did I mention the time I tried to spam magic on him? Little did I know, it was all gonna bounce right back at me, and KO me anyways. Skipping backward in time, when I had my first playthrough, I leaned heavier into one attack type during combat, such as casting faith attacks repeatedly, or quick hits until I had to dodge. I look back and realize just how much I missed out and how little mastery I had over the combat by the end of my first playthrough. This includes after beating Malenia. There were a number of bosses in Elden Ring that the more I fought them, the less I appreciated them, the less they felt different and significant. But with Tree Sentinel, I never felt that he was just overpowered or broken or cheap. In fact, the longer I fought him, the more appreciation I had for the way he was built. And because of some recording issues, I've fought him 4 times now. So that just goes to say for itself. Now, for a good example, let's look to his jump in the air. To avoid his leap, you have to stand farther away than you think, because when he crashes back down, the shockwave hits the surrounding area. Not only that, but you also have to be very patient with your dodge. If you dodge too early, it will still hit you, because the shockwave doesn't move all at once. It moves from the center where he lands outward to the extent of its range. If that wasn't enough already, he has another much quicker jump that appears very similar to the previous one. He also has a jumping attack where he goes into the air without crashing down at all, and you simply need to avoid his halberd stab. After getting used to this, I created a strategy that really came down to patience and getting off heavy hits as often as I could. While he isn't vulnerable to critical strikes, it still made the fight much easier and helped relieve tension Tree Sentinel had built up. I also began to realize, as I continued to attempt to win, that I am beginning to use all of the different attacks at my disposal. Jumping attacks, charged attacks, heavy attacks, etc. I also no longer was spamming dodge roll all of the time because I started to patiently wait for the right time to roll, or just run around his attacks entirely. When, finally, I managed to beat him. I was so excited and proud for sticking with it. He was a genuinely rewarding boss fight. And then I had a thought to myself, hey, I bet I can do this at level 1. So I went and made a Wretch character. This was a notably different experience because the Wretch's special ability caused me to swing for longer than what I felt comfortable. For the Wretch attempts, I eventually decided to forego using the special ability for this reason, as well as I knew I had to be more careful because of the Tree Sentinel's ability could one-hit kill me. Another difference is that the prisoner's range was longer, and his special abilities range was quite long, allowing for less precise attacks in many cases. Also, it takes more hits to defeat him because I do less damage and have less stamina to work with as well. I fully expected this to be a significant challenge and to double the number of previous attempts whilst using the prisoner. To my surprise, most of the skills I learned from my previous attempts had carried over. I'd learned a lot of his movesets and what the best way to handle them were. After getting used to the range of the club and the more limited stamina, I came close several times. Eventually I had a run where I ran out of potions and was close to claiming success. I then get bashed by the horse, taking quite a bit of my health. Then I get bashed again and I have like 1 HP. I took a moment to catch my breath and reminded myself that this was not a race. I was able to break his stance, now he's really close to defeat. I'm doing my best to remember I am not in a rush. I allow him to make the first move, getting in hits where I can safely. And finally, I beat him as a wretch as well. I'm super proud of myself for giving myself this goal and sticking to it. I must say that what I learned most from this challenge was not my own moveset, nor Tree Sentinel's moveset, and not even perseverance. What I learned is how much time you have to take down a boss like this. There's no need to rush. In Elden Ring, patience is key. Rushing headlong in creates too much room for error. Thus ends what I learned from beating the Tree Sentinel as a wretch. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you'd like to see me attempt Margit at level 1, comment below. Thank you for watching the video, and keep yourselves alive.